What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski and I am back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down how to beat the Hina Coliseum, the Chaos difficulty version of Hina's Coliseum, on the One Piece Treasure Cruise global version. Now, previously we just did a video on the Coliseum Smoker, so make sure you guys go ahead and check that out on the channel. But in today's video, more importantly, we're going to be going ahead and breaking down how to beat the Hina version of her Chaos difficulty Coliseum. Now, in this specific Coliseum video, Hina is not actually Chaos exclusive. She can actually be challenged in the Underground and Exhibition difficulties, which are a lot less difficult than the Chaos difficulty, and she can drop also on the Underground and Exhibition difficulties. However, she does have a Chaos difficulty where she has a higher chance to drop for all of you guys that wish to actually get this brand new unit. But anyways, guys, let's get straight into today's video. So first of all, let's go ahead and break down the brand new unit that you guys can get in this brand new Coliseum. So first of all, here we have Black Cage, Hina of Navy HQ Captain. Now, she is a 5-star unit that does evolve from the droppable 4-star unit, and she is a Dex Fighter Cerebral type character. And at max level, at level 99, she has 1901 HP, 912 attack, and 357 recovery. So for a 5-star unit, to be honest, her stats are kind of lacking. Her recovery is nice, but her other two stats in her health and attack, which are arguably the most important stats, are kind of lacking. Now, she does have 30 cost, and she does also have 3 socket spots, similar to Smoker as well. Now, her captain effect will boost the attack and recovery of Dex characters by 1.5 times, and deal 1 times this character's attack in Dex damage to all enemies at the end of each turn. So, kind of like if you guys have seen Stronghold Frankie or Inazuma or the DeKalvin brothers, they have kind of this effect where at the end of every turn they'll deal a little bit of damage depending on how much attack they have. Hina does that, but she doesn't actually deal that much. She only deals, as you can see at max, should only deal 912 damage, which isn't really that much, and she only boosts the attack and recovery of Dex characters by 1.5 times. You know, if they really made this unit like a 2.25 attack and recovery, that would be absolutely amazing, and she would be a wicked unit. However, unfortunately, she doesn't have a very good attack and recovery multiplier booster, so she really won't be used that often as a captain. Now, her special will start at 27 turns and max at 17 turns, meaning you need 10 skill ups. Will deal 8 hits of random Dex damage to random enemies and boost the attack of all characters by 1.1 times for 3 turns. So let's overview this really quickly. It does 8 hits of random Dex damage to random enemies, and also will boost the attack of all characters by 1.1. So number 1, 8 hits of random Dex damage is pretty cool depending on what kind of dungeon you're coming up against. If they have a combo shield, you can get rid of 8 hits away from their combo shield before you even attack, which is pretty cool. Can see some use, but probably not, because her other effect doesn't really help that much. A 1.1 boost for 3 turns isn't really that high. If it was like a 1.35, 1.4 maybe, that would be seeing some use, but overall, the multiplier isn't that great. 8 hits of Dex damage isn't really that usable. So overall, I wouldn't recommend maxing her, but her artwork does look pretty cool. But now let's go ahead and move on into the fight breakdown of the Chaos Coliseum Hina. So the first fight you will come up against is Dr. Kureha. Now, Dr. Kureha has approximately 1.51 million HP and an attack power of 3005, and she will attack you every single turn. And she does have a preemptive attack that will recover approximately 3180 HP every single turn, so that's going to be a little bit annoying to take care of. And she also will chain your bottom left unit for 50 turns. So prior to going into this dungeon, you want to make sure that the unit in your bottom left hand corner is your least vital unit, or just a unit that you don't really care about. Maybe bring a unit that just has a lot of HP so that you can just have a lot of HP on your team, or a lot of recovery on your team, because that unit will be completely useless unless if you have some unit that gets rid of bind completely. But overall, you probably don't really want to bring that kind of unit anyway. She does lock your bottom left unit for 50 turns, so you do have to be very, very careful about that. Also, when her HP falls below 30%, she will recover all the way back up to approximately 70% HP, and this will keep happening every single time you put her under 30%. So you do have to try and burst down that last 30%, otherwise she's just going to keep recovering and keep doing damage to you every single turn, so you have to be very, very careful about that. Now moving on to fight number 2 is Hottery and Kurteri. So these guys here have approximately 1.9 million HP, which is actually quite a lot, and an attack power of 4,444, and they are on an approximate 1 to 2 turn cooldown that will vary, so it really does depend on, you know, what happens when you enter the dungeon. It could be 1 or it could be 2. Now they do have a preemptive attack that will apply a delay protector for 99 turns, so meaning that do not bring any delays because they will become completely useless in this dungeon. Now, every 2 turns there will be some effect that will be activated, and it is completely random on what effect is actually activated. So number 1, they could deal 4,444 damage and then inflict poison to you, and that poison is pretty annoying because it does 300 damage for each unit that you have on your team. Or they could deal 3,780 damage and then silence or despair your captain for 1 turn. Or they could go ahead and deal 5,524 damage and change all of your slots to empty. So either one of these effects is obviously really bad. Obviously, effect number 2 is probably the most preferred one, especially if you have the anti-captain despair socket, at least level 1, because then that will be completely redundant, and also that deals the least amount of damage to you. Now, when they fall below 20% HP, they're going to deal 8,890 damage, so you definitely want to try and burst down that last 20%, but other than that, there aren't really any other effects. But remember, every 2 turns they will activate one of those effects at random. You do have to be very careful about that, especially if you don't have the sockets for Captain Despair, and inflicting poison will be very difficult as well, meaning you're going to get a lot of chip damage done every single turn to you, so you have to be very careful about that. I would recommend trying to burst them down in that first 2 turns so you don't get any of those effects activated on your crew. Moving on now to fight number 3, we have Hamburg, Big Bun, and Pickles. So let's go ahead and break these guys down. The Dex unit Hamburg has approximately 720,000 HP and an unknown attack power. I tried researching everywhere, I couldn't find the attack power of Big Bun and Hamburg. Now Big Bun here is the strength unit, has 570,000 HP, and Pickles, which is the quick unit, has 770,000 HP, and he'll attack you on a 1 turn cooldown for 8,646 damage. Now, definitely you want to go ahead and bring a turn delay up for this dungeon. Otherwise, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. Unless if you have some sort of crazy burst team, this is going to be very difficult. Because the preemptive attack will apply a 20% damage reduction for 3 turns. All of your slots are changed to bother, and you're also blinded for 3 turns. So definitely some sort of turn delay would be highly recommended. This is actually going to be one of the most difficult fights in this Coliseum. I think this is honestly going to be more difficult than Hina herself. This is actually really annoying, especially because you get that 20% damage reduction. You're also blinded for 3 turns. So if you bring a team like Log Luffy, Gear 3, or anything that relies on the timing of your hits, that's going to be very difficult, you know, because you're not going to be seeing how you're going to hit your hits. So unless if you know your units really well, I would go ahead and bring some sort of team that doesn't rely on hitting your perfects, goods, or greats. Potentially a Mihawk Slasher team would be good, because you can go ahead and cut down their HP by 50% with the double Mihawk special, so that would be highly recommended. But it really does depend on what kind of units you guys have in your character box. But this is definitely going to be a very challenging fight for a lot of people to actually complete. Now moving on to fight 4, we have Pell. Now Pell has approximately 1.49 million HP and an attack power of 3,400 damage on a 1 turn cooldown, meaning he's going to attack you every single turn. Now his preemptive attack will apply a 5 turn resilience buff, meaning that he cannot be killed by regular attacks for 5 turns, and also he has a delay protector for 99 turns as well, so you cannot turn delay him either. Now, once he falls below 50% HP, after every attack, he will also chain a unit on your team for 2 turns. Now, because he does have that resilience buff, definitely bringing units like the deal damage, definitely Eustace Kid is one that I can name, because he has a really low cooldown, and you know, once he falls below 20% HP, he doesn't actually do any other effect, so you can get him down to that 1 HP, and then after your turn ends, you can go ahead and use Kid Special, or any other unit that does damage, and get rid of him. Or you could go ahead and bring a unit that poisons, like Impact Crocodile or anything like that, because you can go ahead and poison him and get him down to 1 HP, and as soon as you finish your attacks, that poison will actually instantly kill Pell. So that is also one way to go about it as well. But definitely any other unit that does damage is also really great, as I mentioned, Kid, because you can just kill him off with those specials. And he doesn't do anything, as I said, under 20%, so you don't have to worry about that. But he will lock a unit randomly for 2 turns when he's under 50% HP. So you do have to mind he could potentially lock your unit that you're going to use a special with. So make sure that you go ahead and have level 2 anti-bind so that you do not have to worry about his binding of your units. So let's go ahead and break down the Fight 5 Stage 4 boss, which is Pell once again. Before you fight Hina, you have to come up against Pell once again. And this guy is pretty much the exact same as the Fight 4, except that he has 500,000 less HP and does about 500 less attack to you. So overall, they're pretty much the exact same concepts that I mentioned previously. Got to make sure that you have to be careful that you have the anti-bind in order to make sure that your units aren't locked so you can activate these specials against Pell himself. Or if you just bring a poison unit, you can just poison him on the first turn and then go ahead and take him down to 1 HP and instantly kill Pell. And then move on to the last stage, which is the boss Hina. So here we are, Fight 5, Stage 5, Boss Stage, Hina. Now, Hina herself has 1.65 million HP and an attack power of 6,210, and she'll either be on a 1 or a 2 turn cooldown. I've seen it on both. I've seen her be on a 1 turn cooldown, and I've seen her be on a 2 turn cooldown, so it does vary between dungeons. She doesn't actually have a preemptive attack, which is kind of good. It does mean, though, if you are, going to try and stall correctly, make sure that your units have a 1 turn cooldown before killing off Pell, so your units will be ready to go by the time you reach the boss stage Hina. Now, every 3 turns that Hina will attack, she'll actually lock a unit on your team for 3 turns. So having level 3 anti-bind or killing her off in that first 3 turns is highly recommended. Now, when her HP drops below 50%, she'll actually go ahead and summon units. She'll go ahead and summon the Marine Django and also double Iron Fist full body. So Django is the Psi unit and full body is the Strength unit, and they both have approximately 150,000 health. They're very easy to take down. And you can see their attack powers there, 5,300 for Django and 3,500 for full body. And they do also vary on their cooldowns as well, between 1, 2, and 3 cooldowns. So they are, a little bit easy to, to take down. They don't have much HP. And also you do notice that there are no delay protectors or debuff protectors applied in this stage. So you can bring a delayer in order to take down Hina as well. You can't use it against Pell because he does have the delay protector. However, you can bring it against Hina because she does not have one. So I would highly recommend bringing a delayer, especially if she does end up summoning Django in full body, so you guys can take her out a lot easier. Now, if Hina falls below 20% HP and will attack, then she'll deal 12,000 damage to you and then lock all of your units on your team for a single turn. So once again, I would strongly recommend go to approximately 50% HP and then burst down that last 50% so you don't have to deal with full body or Django, and you don't have to deal with being locked for 1 turn or the 12,000 damage. That is what I would say. So bringing a really powerful strength team might be the way to go. You do remember how you have to deal with Pell in the stage before. He is a quick unit, so you do have to, kind of accommodate for that as well. But overall, Hina is actually a pretty easy boss fight, and you shouldn't really have too many troubles in beating her at all. Now let's go ahead and have a quick look at the specific drops that you guys can get from the Chaos Coliseum Hina. Obviously, with all Coliseums, you can get every single type of cotton candy, HP up, attack up, recovery up, and all types up. Also Forbidden Tones, which is awesome. Everyone loves Forbidden Tones, socketing out their legend units, socketing out their really important units that they cannot socket at the moment. Also, you can drop skill books for Hina herself as well, which does make it a little bit easier for maxing out her skill. Not really for her sockets though, but you can try and max out her skill a little bit easier with those socket books. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, she does need 10 skill ups, so you can drop the copies of Hina herself in the dungeon, or you can drop her skill books as well. You can also drop cola for leveling up your ship, and also belly bags will be quite common as well, so you guys can go ahead and get some more cash money. Now let's go ahead and have a look at a specific team that you guys can use out there in order to actually beat Hina's Coliseum, her last stage, the Fight 5 against Hina Coliseum, the Chaos difficulty. Now this specific slasher team will work very well. Now as you can see, the second unit does vary. You can either bring the 3-day 2-year Zoro, or you guys can bring Koza. I would highly recommend bringing that Zoro though. If you guys have the Zoro on a slasher team, he is so good, especially for this Hina fight, because he is a strength unit and his special will give himself a strength orb. And if you are fortunate enough to stall out for his stage 3 special, 1.75 times booster slashes for 2 turns, as well as giving himself a strength orb, is absolutely phenomenal. If you partner that up with Doflamingo's 2 times orb effectiveness, you're pretty much going to be one-shotting Hina pretty easily, especially when you have the double Mihawk special as well. You guys should have no problems whatsoever. However, if you are not able to get 3-day 2-year Zora, you guys can also use Koza. He's a very, very good unit to use as well. Also, you could use Mr. 1 as well. The Strength Mr. 1 I would recommend because he does have a boost against Hina herself because he is a strength unit, of course. Now, of course, you can also bring Arlong. He's a very, very powerful strength slasher unit. He's very, very good. And that last unit really does vary. You can bring anyone that you really want. I would highly recommend a Delayer, potentially bring Golden Pat Usopp, or any other Delayer that you guys might have in your character box. That is basically what I would recommend for a slasher team in order to take down Hina. Now, just a little side note, you can see on the bottom there that pretty much a lot of teams can beat this Coliseum. She's not that difficult when you compare it to the other Chaos difficulty Coliseums like a Rogue and Smoker himself. So, you know, really, so many different teams can beat this. Crocodile teams, Mihawk teams, like Legend Mihawk teams. Log Luffy is probably one of the best teams to do it. Ray Lee, Sengoku, Bartolomeo. There's so many different variations of teams that you guys can bring in order to actually beat this Coliseum. I'm just bringing you guys this slasher team because it's probably the most economical one that a lot of people can make reasonably easily. So yeah, that's pretty much my recommendation for a team. But as I mentioned, a lot of different teams can beat this Coliseum reasonably easily. She's probably one of the easiest Chaos Coliseum difficulties that we've seen thus far. But overall, that is going to conclude yet another guide video. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video, and if you guys have enjoyed it, make sure to smack the like button down below. And if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post on my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.